In this segment, Stephanie Miller is joined by a guest to discuss the increasingly unhinged comments from Trump and the growing dangers of political violence. Here's Stephanie.
The Trump administration is saying they want to bring this case to the Supreme Court. And this U.S. Supreme Court for many years has been saying, in particular with respect to a lot of different President Biden's initiatives, these questions are too major for the president alone to decide. They have to be done by the Congress. And here you got something as major as it gets. The Nonpartisan Tax Foundation says that these tariffs are the largest tax increase on Americans since Bill Clinton in 1993. And yet Congress had nothing to do with them. It's just President Trump and the stroke of his pen. And that just can't be the right way to run a constitutional system.
The Supreme Court's almost certainly going to take this up. How confident are you there?
So I'm very confident in the merits of our argument, Chris. I think it is, rock solid, extremely strong. The court has shown time and again that it can reach conclusions that are at odds with conservative ideology when the law says so. And, when I argued Moore versus Harper, and we talked about that a couple of years ago, is a good example. So I think let's let, the process play out. Our hope is that the administration doesn't appeal this, that they go to Congress and ask for the authority that the court says. That's what the Constitution says they should be doing. But if they do decide to appeal it, we will be ready at the U.S. Supreme Court for them.
Which illegality would you like to start with? They just lie. Christine Holmes saying they haven't arrested any U.S. citizens. I mean, as Chris said, it's got to be in the hundreds.
Yeah, this is like we are in full-blown George Orwell 1984 Ministry of Truth, right? That was the agency in that novel that was called the Ministry of Truth, but all they did was lie and put propaganda out into the public square. That's exactly what these people are doing. And Steph, they're only fooling the gullible. I'm not sure who is left to believe this garbage.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we are. And meanwhile, every day gets worse. Immigration officials have increasingly been detaining people in small, secretive holding facilities for days or even weeks at a time in violation of federal policy. These holding facilities consist of small concrete rooms with no beds that are designed to be only used for a few hours. I mean, the lawlessness, Glenn, is so I mean, everything I'm going to bring up to you, we're at the same, what do we do about this? Who stops them, right?
Yeah, it's accelerating, and this is going to sound counterintuitive, but I want the abuses to ratchet up. I want them to come all at once, Steph, because we know they're going to come, right? And we need to sort of mobilize, galvanize, and what does it? Is when we see these darn abuses with our own eyes. So you know what? Bring on the abuses, because I'm telling you, it's going to hasten Trump's political downfall. There are cracks showing even in the Republican Party, and there are autocracy experts who are saying it looks like he's beginning to lose power. And once a dictator begins to lose power, yes, he gets a little bit more dangerous and a little bit more desperate, but he tends to fall. So let's get to the fall part.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what everything seems to be accelerating. His mental, his physical decline, his, getting humiliated on the world stage. Republicans, even like Marjorie Taylor Greene, breaking with him. This one, I just thought it summed up everything. A man who worked for the Trump Organization Golf Club in New York for more than a decade was deported to Mexico without the immigration hearing he was entitled to. He was flown to Texas, forced to walk across a bridge over the Rio Grande to Mexico. He pleaded with his jailers, telling them he was never given a chance to contest his deportation. The federal agents told him, wait for it, they were just following orders. Yep. Where do I remember that from? Where do I remember? His wife is currently trying to obtain a green card. He has 4 children, the eldest of whom is a U.S. Marine. All his children are citizens. Soon after deporting him, immigration officials realized they had sent him to Texas by mistake. They raced to decipher his whereabouts, exchanging bewildered emails, contacting detention facilities to pinpoint his location. Homeland Security ultimately acknowledged the error, saying he had been removed to Mexico early because he was put on the incorrect transport. A spokesperson for DHS said they're arranging for him to return so he can have a hearing. Everything is equal parts just lawlessness and complete incompetence, isn't it?
Yeah, Steph, and it's no longer a question of whether we will need Nuremberg-style trials. We need to put a working group together simply at this point to figure out what are we going to call them, because we're going to have them.
This one, the National Guard is developing a quick reaction force of troops trained in crowd control and civil disturbance that can be ready to deploy to U.S. cities by January. I mean, he clearly is looking to incite, to ramp up, to escalate, to hope he can invoke martial law. I mean, isn't that the scenario?
Absolutely. This whole thing, I think, is designed to find a pretext to try to postpone, air quotes around that word, because it'll mean cancel the midterms. He's not going to be successful. People should take comfort in this. You know, Judge Sarah Ellis out in Chicago, she's the one who ruled that these agents have to wear body-worn cameras because we need to be able to capture and document the abuse in real time. You know what she did? She said, and I have received from members of the public, not people who were parties in the litigation, members of the public, their cell phone videos about the police abuses going on in the streets, and I used that as evidence in reaching my decision. What should that tell us? We all need to get off the sidelines, get in the game. You don't have to put yourself in harm's way, but go out there and record with your cell phone, because it very well may become evidence in litigation against these abuses.
So, you know what? Can you give me Jasmine Crockett, third number 13? Glenn, want to get your reaction on the other side.
All I know is no, sir, you will not get a third term. That's not going to happen. I mean, the Supreme Court going to have to find their big boy and big girl panties and do what's right. The Constitution is very clear, sir. And frankly, you never should have had one term. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, you were never qualified to be president of the United States, not once, but definitely not twice.
I'm getting to do a vote on Prop 50 with Jasmine on Sunday, which that I'm very excited about. But anyway, Glenn, I go back and forth between it's Steve Bannon trying to own the libs, but I think what happens, Glenn, is all of us go, would the Supreme Court go, yeah, okay, no more 22nd Amendment, that's fine, just for Trump, he can run again. I mean, what is your level of concern about this?
So
talk?
my take is it's very unlikely, but I will never say never, because you know what was also very unlikely? When you read the Constitution and it says the president must take care to faithfully enforce the laws of the nation, and the Supreme Court said, we're going to throw that out and we're going to grant him presidential immunity. That was contrary to the express terms of the Constitution. So I will never say never with this Supreme Court, but you know, they're just cutting off their nose to spite their face, because if they allow him to become the dictator he so desperately wants to become, a dictator has no use for a Supreme Court, so they'll be putting themselves out of business, out of power, and out of office. So I hope all of the branches of government at some point begin to rally.
So in answer to everyone's question, is there no low, too low? Yes.